Okay, so welcome everyone to this new workshop that I've created, which is called Swap Your Overwhelm for Results Now in 3 steps. Can you see the flip chart properly? You can just put a thumb up or whatever you want. I'll be reading it to be fair, but just in case. Yes, perfect. Thank you for your answer. Good. I am super thrilled to have you today on this workshop. I have been thinking about doing that workshop for a few weeks already. The reason being, I have noticed from my current clients and also from a lot of women around me that overwhelm is a big thing lately. It's not new, obviously, but with our life getting more and more busy, especially coming out of COVID, then everybody trying to get back into that rhythm and us being constantly bombarded with information about the weather, about the economy, about holidays, about work, etc., then our overwhelm can build up fairly quickly. And I find ourselves not equipped to deal with it. We haven't been taught how to deal with our overwhelm. We haven't been taught where it comes from. And we haven't been taught, most importantly, how to manage it so that we are able to create space to create results afterwards and to take the actions that we want to do. So that's why it was really important for me to do that workshop, to equip you the best way I know, the simplest way I know, to be able to deal with your overwhelm on your own whenever you need it. Then it will also enable me to make my work more visible and also to help you further if you want by sharing with you at the end of the workshop in a few minutes how I can help you, how coaching works. But that's definitely kind of a side benefit of it. But what I want to do is really give you that tool. So who I am, for those of you who are with me or who are going to rewatch this video on replay, I am Alex Wheeler. I am a certified life coach and the founder of Alex Wheeler Coaching. In my coaching practice, I help women who are generally ambitious, perfectionist, generally have this people-pleasing edge, which means that they have built a certain level of success in their life, professionally, with their families, but they still feel pretty unfulfilled inside and pretty exhausted by all of it. So what I help them is to build and create that fulfillment in their business or at work, in their new career, in their life, without having the guilt, the exhaustion, and having to ask for permission to anybody to do that for themselves. So that's what I do through my private coaching program. And I have also a group coaching program, which I do only 2 times per year. So to get back to business, most important, why you came today, overwhelm. So we will do, as I've mentioned, a bit of I will teach you like the 3 steps. So step 1, and then ask you some questions. Step 2, and then ask you some questions, so that by the end of it, you actually feel better and you have then those tools applied practically for your situation that will help you decrease that overwhelm. And what I can promise you is that by the end of this workshop, you will feel at least 50% less overwhelmed and at least 50% more focused, clear, or motivated, which will help you take action. And you will be able to repeat that. Okay, that's what you're going to get. So let's dive into it, shall we? So first step, as we discussed, I've put it in the title, 3 steps. I'm not going to give you any more. I'm not going to overwhelm you by too much content or too much complexity. That'll be counterintuitive, wouldn't it? So step 1 is really around noticing and feeling. So I'm going to explain you a bit more about that. So when you think about your work, your career progression, or your business, whether you are a business owner. How do you feel? And really what I would love you to do is to focus on your body right now. Think about your work circumstance and situation and focus on how you feel in your body. Give me, what I would love is if you could write one word description on how it feels in your body, the first one that comes to your mind. So quite often, our mind is going to try and explain it. Like, I feel I don't have enough time, or I feel that there are too much to do, and that's actually not a feeling, that's a sentence, and we'll get to that to the step 2. But what I would love to you is to sink in with your body and tell me how you feel. So for example, for me, I think it was 2 days ago, I started working and then I felt overwhelmed in my body. That's really the feeling that came up. And what it was like my heart was palpitating. I had like a ball in my throat here. My blood was circulating much faster and my throat felt hot. I struggled to breathe. That's what I would love you to do. Notice how you feel and then describe how that feels. If you can write in the comments what the feeling is for you when you think about your work circumstance. And if that's hard, because I know feelings at the moment, feelings and emotion are the same, right? So if that's hard for you to really put one like very specific word, you can say, I feel good, or I feel bad, I feel sad, or I feel happy. You know, anything that are along those lines is already a good start, okay? Okay, so you said, so one said crispation, okay, yeah. And heart rate accelerated, lots of things done in my head, in my mind. So for the one who wrote heart rate accelerated, what do you know, what's the emotion that you feel? What's the feeling in your body? Because heart rate accelerated, it's a great description of what that emotion feels like in your body. Crispation, it's interesting because I almost wonder if it's not more of a body sensation than a feeling. Do you know what the feeling would be behind that crispation, or what's causing that the body to crispate? That might be like when you feel crispation, it's like either you feel frustrated, or you feel maybe angry, or you feel yeah, maybe something like that. What are you thinking about crispation? Angry. Okay. And then you have excited for the challenge, but also stressed for the person who put lots of things turn in my mind. Okay, that's interesting, right? Because it's very true. Right now, what I'm asking you is to focus on the sensation and then one feeling. But what happens is that we have a lot of feelings at once, at the same time. We're not just a single feeling machine. Unfortunately, that will be much easier to read. But the idea of the step 1 is to sink in with how you feel right now and try to separate them, you know, to some extent, like a bit like what you've done. Excited for the challenge, but also stressed. So tell me what that stress feels in your body. If you had to describe it as detailed and as specifically as you could, where is it in your body? How does it feel? Where do you, if you could visualize it, you can close your eyes. Like, what would it look like? What shape does it has? Does it have, is it hot or cold? Is it soft or is it hard? How could you describe it as detailed as possible, as almost if you would want someone to draw from it? And the same for angry. I'll be really curious if you can sink in with you. Where does that anger sit? That step is incredibly important because right now you're mentioning angry, you're mentioning stressed, and I'm sure sometimes it's overwhelm. It's the same process that you deal with all of those emotions. So naming it and then feeling it, describing it is extremely important, you'll see, for actually being able to move away from it. So if you can share with me your description of angry. Okay, so the stress is like a black cloud, disordered. Okay. Is it cold or hot, that cloud? Or hard or soft? And where is it in your body? Is it in your head or is it around your chest? Where would that be? In your stomach. Yeah. Black cloud in your stomach. And is it hot or cold? That would be interesting as well to see. Okay, not sure hot or cold. Okay. I'll keep talking, but for the person who said angry, yeah, share with me. I'd love to see where and what you feel, but it's exactly that, the idea of thinking in and noticing what you feel. Because why that is important? Because when you think about like whatever emotion you're describing right now, that is either the stress or either the anger that you mentioned or the overwhelm, specifically for that workshop, what does that, when we are in that emotional state where we have that emotion, it's like our brain has a stress reaction. Okay, it's like our nervous system is so aware and so awake that it's like we're on red alert when we are in high emotion situation, which means that, just for you to remember, when our emotions run high, our intelligence runs low. Okay, so it's almost like, and I'm sure you can see it, like when you are in a high emotional state, it's like your brain goes to mush, right? We're like, and then we're not able to think, we're not able to step out of the situation, we're not able to think about solution, about different things to do. It's like our emotion takes over, right? It takes over our experience and it takes over our action or anything that we can do. So the more we are in that emotional state, the less we do, right? So the less action and therefore the less results we get. So that's super important to know, because when you know that, then you know that if you want to get out of that emotional state, it's all about noticing first what the emotion is, naming it, like what you've done, and then describing it. Because what it does is when you name it, when you notice it, you have to take a different position. You have to become the observer of you. Okay, when you say, oh, I feel angry or I feel stressed, you need to take a bit of a step out of who you are to notice that. And going in that observer mode does two things. It releases that stress on your brain. Okay, so it will take you out of that stress mode and it will give you an instant relief of the emotional pain or the emotional excitement, whatever that might be. And that's really, by the way, what meditation does, right? When we meditate, for those of you who do that, you train your minds to focus on what is going on in your head and then to observe it, right? To take distance. And that's when you are much less into the emotion. You are much more in your awareness, in your mind. And when you can actually think more than react as such and feel. So that's why it's really important, that first step. And when you notice that, is that you get relief from that emotion. You realize that you're not your emotion anymore. And most of the time, that's why I love doing the exercise as often as I can through the day. Most of the time through our day, we don't even notice how we feel, right? We carry out through our day feeling like having that weight and not feeling well. We feel like, oh God, that day is rubbish, right? Or that day is amazing. It's the same. It will be positive emotion, comfortable, or uncomfortable emotion, negative emotion. And we carry out through our day feeling something that we can't necessarily notice, that we don't have a hold of, that we don't have a grip on. And we feel a bit like the effect of it, right? So the whole day we're going to carry out stressed out, or we're going to carry out demotivated or angry without noticing. And we're going to arrive at the evening saying like, oh, I really need a relief, which is generally booze, TV, food, sex, sleep, whatever it might be, which will not solve for the actual emotional, emotions that you feel. It's not going to solve it. It's just going to numb it. So momentarily, it's going to give you a relief, and you're going to feel like, that feels much better, thank God. And then once you stop that, you go back into that emotion that you had all day. And that's really the power of the first step, is that it helps you not do that. It helps you to put a brake on that emotional autopilot that we carry out on our life, and actually being much more in control of your emotional life. That's what it does. And the more you do that, the more you practice noticing how you feel, naming it, describing it in your body, the more you're going to realize that actually your emotions are not so bad and it's not so painful, and you can handle it, right? Because our brain, and it's really also what society has showed us, it has showed us that emotions are bad. Emotions are scary. Emotions are things that we should avoid at any cost. Emotion we should not have, we should not share. But guess what? Our body has been made to have emotions, right? It's been built to feel emotions. So we can completely handle emotions in our body when we allow them and when we feel them, which is what we're doing when we notice, name, and feel them. What our body hasn't been built for is to resist emotions. So what does resisting emotion means? It means closing up to it. It means avoiding it. It means numbing it by the mechanism I was giving you, or it means completely denying it. So basically, you pretend like it's not happening consciously or unconsciously, right? A lot of this is unconscious, by the way. And that, the more you do that, what happens with emotion if they're not noticed, the more you do that, the more they're going to build up, the more they're going to grow in your body, in your mind, the more they're going to take over your life. And then because high emotions, as I said, are like a red signal for your brain is on constant alert. It means that on a daily basis, or very, very often, your body is going to be in a stress response. And a stress response means that it is not in a creation mode. Our brain can be either in stress response or in creation. So when we are in stress response, your brain is, and your body physiologically, it just does the bare minimum to keep you alive. It pumps the blood, get the oxygen, right? It makes you walk and all of that, the basic. But you can't ask him anything more. You can't ask him to take scary actions. You can't ask him to go to your boss to ask for a raise. You can't look into, should I make that big move and leave my job and go for that next career? Or should I call that client and maybe get rejected? All of those things, it's not available. It's not available for you. So that's why when you are in that stress response, what we're going to do naturally and automatically without even noticing, we're going to try and avoid it. So we will then not call the clients, we will find something else to do, we will procrastinate, we'll put a wash on, we will do whatever it is, right? That will just get us out of that stress response. And it's completely normal. It's a protection mechanism that we have. But that first steps actually helps you reduce that stress response, right? So reduce the emotional pain that you have. And therefore, when you do that, it helps you create the space to create and to do things from your brain, which is taking risky actions. Yeah, or why it's perceived as risky or uncomfortable or unfamiliar, right? Trying something new, basically. So that's when you see that there is so much attached to allowing our feelings in our life. Because when we don't allow them and we're all the time in that stress response, that's when our body gets sick and gets ill. And that can kill us. Feeling an emotion will not kill us. Avoiding it and not feeling it, resisting it, can kill us. So really learning that skill that we've never been taught before is key. If there is anything you pick up from that workshop, it's that. That will make a massive difference in your life on a daily basis, really. So, 15 minutes, there you go. So another thing I wanted to mention is that quite often we are complex being, right? So underneath an emotion, we will have another emotion, right? That happens. It's like that entangled together. And like, for example, I had when I think that was on Wednesday, when I was feeling that overwhelmed, I've done that exercise, and which takes a couple of minutes, like what you've seen. And then once I got into thinking with how that overwhelm felt, I've realized that I felt as well inadequate, right? I had that feeling of inadequacy that came up. And then I started questioning. I thought, what do I feel inadequate about? And actually, it was an emotion that I was feeling because I thought, if I'm going to do that thing, if I'm going to propose my coaching services to someone and I get rejected or I don't do it well, I'm going to feel inadequate. And that was really just that feeling that I had in my body, which was preventing me from doing anything. So I also made some space. I also allowed it. And then I felt much better and much more available to do the actions that I want to take. So you can always question yourself when you are feeling those emotions. Try and see if there is something else underneath. That is also really interesting to have a look at. So I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, so you mentioned around the angry part, which was felt in the chest, in the stomach, hot like a hurricane. It's complex. It's both angry and also excited. Yeah. So when you have, like when you're trying to notice the feelings in your body and you feel that a bit of conflicting, you have the excitement and you have the anger, try and focus on one at a time. Okay. So when you think about the anger, think about when you've been angry, what has been going on when you felt angry, and trying to put yourself back in that situation, and your body is going to respond. Yeah, physiologically, you're going to feel that it's something that's much more uncomfortable because anger is something that gives us vibrations in our body, which are feeling, there are vibrations in our body that are much more uncomfortable than excitement. Generally, excitement, it's like your heart is beating really fast, your blood is pumping, it's much more in your chest, in your heart, and it felt like, like almost an energy that is pulling you forward to take actions. Whereas anger is much more uncomfortable and much more like tensing towards the insides, let's say. So, and the more you're going to do that, that's the beauty, the more you're going to be able to recognize, when do I feel angry? When do I feel excited? And that's the whole point of how to use it, right? You do it as often as you can throughout your day, and you notice and you pay attention to how you feel. because those feelings are going to be an indication on how your life experience is, right? Which is at the end what we want. We want to be present in our life, and we want to live the best life that we can live. And that best life that we can live is defined by how we feel, right? If we feel shit, it can't be the best life then we can live, except if it's momentarily because we want to do something scary, but that's different. If we're constantly bad or depressed or demotivated or overwhelmed, it surely can't be the best life that we can live. And that's what I see from my most successful clients, where they get the biggest shift and the fastest change in their life is that they do that exercise as often as they can through the day, just to notice on how they feel. And you actually get to know yourself much more, right? You'll get to know, oh, right now I feel overwhelmed, or right now I feel excited, or I feel frustrated. Why is that? And then you start to notice when you know yourself, you start to notice when was that, what happened, what were you thinking, what was the situation, and you can really start and learn how you feel and how you react. Therefore, when you know that, that's what was in step 3, how you can change that. Okay, but you can't change without the first piece of awareness, building that library of emotions. And sometimes you will see it might be a bit like sometimes if the emotion, the intensity of the emotion is really, really high, right? What you need to do first is breathe. Like you take a few deep breaths, or what I love to do that helps really a lot, I change my environment. Right, I go for a walk, or even I change room. If you are at work, you go to the toilet, you go outside, whatever it is, even 5 minutes. You take yourself outside of where you are at, just so that it breaks that instant stress response from your brain. You take a few big breaths, and then you notice, you name it, and you describe it in your body. Okay? First, before I move on to step 2, do you have any questions? Or is that clear? Thumb up. Thank you very much. Cool. So step 2 then. Once we know a bit more of how we feel, when we realize that more and more and more as we go through our day, and we feel it, which is not such a big deal, actually. We've spent all that time and energy to try and avoid it, but it's not such a big deal. Then we're going to start to take much more power over our emotion. So how do we do that? We do that by finding the sentence in your head that is causing your feeling. Okay, so first, a sentence in your head is what we call a thought. Okay, so that's as simple. A thought is a sentence in our head. When you hear the word belief, it's just a thought that you've repeated over and over and over to the point that you believe it's true. That's the difference then. Sentence, thought, belief. Okay. So the key points that you need to remember from that step 2, and again, something that we haven't been taught or that we've been given very contradictory information on in social media, in society, through our education, through everything around us, is that actually feelings are caused by our thoughts. They are caused by a sentence in our head, not by situations, not by people around us, not by the boss saying no, not by the clients saying, no, I don't want to work with you. All right, those are what we call circumstances. They are situations. They are just facts, right? They're neutral as such. And these are not what create the feeling. They create just a situation. And what happens is that we will have then our brain that will put its own interpretation on the situation he's in. And that interpretation that is going to be based on the blend of our values, our education, our skill set, all of that, it's going to lead us to have a thought about that situation. And that's going to create the feeling in our body. So, for example, if we all think about the recession, right? The recession outside that you can read everywhere in the media, that you can hear on socials, in your neighbor, everywhere. Recession is just a circumstance, right? It's a situation. It's just neutral. As such, it holds nothing. But then if you ask 100 people, even 10 people, they're all going to give you different interpretation of what it means for them, right? For some people, recession is going to be, they're going to tell you like, it is scary. I have no idea how I'm going to survive. It is going to affect my business. And for other people, they're going to tell you, I love recession. It's a lot of opportunities for my business. It means I get to face a lot of problems, right? These are all different thoughts that people are going to have when they think about recession. And each of these thoughts is going to create a feeling for them. Okay, imagine you have that recession idea. Someone tells you, it is a great opportunity for my business. How are they going to feel? If I tell you it's a great opportunity for your business or for your work, you're going to feel excited, right? You're going to feel like impatient. But if we still think about the recession, and I tell you, for example, my thought is, I have no idea how I'm going to make meets ends, right? How I'm going to close the month. Then how are you going to feel? I have no idea how I'm going to close the month. You're going to feel down. Like just talking about it, my body feels like, oh God, like if I've just carried an extra 100 kilos on my shoulders, you feel down, right? Well, that, as you can see, has nothing to do with recession. We still kept the same circumstance. It only has to do with your own interpretation of it, with your own sentence in your head. That is that sentence that is causing you the feeling that you've been feeling in step 1. Okay? And just there, I'd love to do just a little side note to differentiate for you a feeling, which is the same thing as an emotion, with a sensation. Okay? Because feelings are vibrations in our bodies that come from our brain into our body, right? We won't feel anything if we don't have a brain, okay? But a sensation is a physiological response to something outside of us, okay? So for example, it's 38 degrees outside, you go out, you have a physiological response. You start to sweat, you start to feel hot, and then that comes from your body to your mind. Okay, so it's different. Emotion comes from your brain to your body. Sensation comes from your body to your brain. We'll have then an interpretation of, I need water, I need a rest, when we feel that sensation in our body. So I've just put a few examples in there. I'll go to the fact versus thoughts just after. For you around, I'm going to have to speed up actually, I'm talking too much. Around step 2. Okay, so let's take a situation where your clients or your boss ask you to get X done by tonight. Okay, so that can be a specific project that you had on your list. That can be something that they've been asking for, redo their website, whatever, the field of work you're in. You can have different thoughts about it. You can have, I have so much to do. That's one thought, which generally leads to feeling overwhelmed. Or you can have, no way I can get this done, which is another thought that you could have when your boss or your clients ask you to get something done. When you think, no way I can get this done, most likely you're going to feel demotivated. At least that's for me when I'm thinking that thought. Or another alternative, when you think, okay, let's figure out how. That's going to create the feeling inside of you of feeling focused. Okay, that's all to show you again, because that is ultra important in that step to understand. You are not your emotions. Circumstances outside of you that we cannot control do not define how you feel. Okay, so that's really a key thing, because what does it do? Yeah, think about it, or how important that is to really understand. If our emotional life, which is basically how we feel on a daily basis, right? If our emotional life is not caused by our environment, by the boss, by the husband, by the kids, by our clients, but actually is caused by the thoughts that we have about it, then it changes everything, right? Because think about the amount of time and energy that we spend to change our environment, to change other people, to make someone like us, to change the house so that we feel better, to buy a new car so that we feel like we have a higher status. All of those goals that we put for ourselves or objectives or tasks because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. We're going to feel more worthy. We're going to feel more successful. We're going to feel more motivated if we change the goal, if we change the car, if we change the partner. But that's not the case. It is never the case if we do not change the thought. And that's why you see over and over people who, for example, have babies and they think that's gonna create more connection in our marriage. Let's have a baby. And then when the baby comes, they still think like it hasn't solved the problem. They still feel disconnected from each other because the baby is not going to change anything if they don't go with a different mindset about it. And that's really where your power lies, where we have an immense amount of power as human beings that is absolutely untapped because we haven't been taught how to take control over our emotional power. We most of the time give it to other people, give it to other situations, and these are the people and the situations that lead our life, that run how we feel on a daily basis. So if you think about your overwhelm, if you feel overwhelmed, most likely you're going to think, yeah, it's because I have too much on my to-do list. It's because my to-do list is too long. I have 30 items on it. I have 20 clients. I have short deadlines, whatever it is. But if what I'm saying is true, it means that changing your overwhelms, you don't need to decrease the list. You don't need to decrease the deadline, right? You only need to understand and to identify what's the sentence that you're having that comes up in your head when you feel that overwhelm. It's the only thing you need to realize. And then we can work with it on step 3. So that's what you need to do with step 2. You take a minute to see, with the feeling you identify in step 1, anger, stress, excitement, you name it, you describe it, and then what's the sentence that you are attaching to it that is behind? If you can share it with me, I'd love to hear it. I think some of you said at the beginning, you said, where was it? Excited for the challenge, but also stressed. Yeah, so what is exciting about that challenge, for example, or what is stressful about that challenge? That's what I would ask my clients if they want to know. What's the sentence in their head? So if you want to share with me, that would be great. Someone wrote, what I read sometimes, there are 5 basic emotions, happiness, sadness, etc., and feelings are much more nuanced. Yeah. Okay, the difference between emotions and feelings. Yeah, there are a lot of studies on that, on, where do we categorize them, what is emotion, what is feelings, etc. Personally, what I like to use for myself and for my clients is just emotions and feelings are the same. And indeed, the list is gigantic. Yeah, much, much more than 5 indeed. Well, very complex being, aren't we? Which makes finding simple solutions like the ones I'm teaching you not as easy, actually. So one person said, afraid not to be heard. Okay. Yeah, so that would be a sentence in your head, right? I'm afraid not to be heard, or I might not be heard. That is going to make you feel scared or angry or, yeah. And then from those, when we have those feelings and how it kind of tie up with the results part that I was giving in the presentation, is that feelings are fuel, right? They are like fuels for us. Either we're going to take actions or we're going to retrieve, basically. So based on the feeling that you're going to have, that's going to create the actions that you're going to take in your life, okay? So you would have, for example, when you feel focused, right? Because you are thinking, okay, let's figure out how. The type of actions you're going to take would be, for example, I'll break down tasks. I'll plan my time. I'll do one task after the other. And those actions are going to create some results for you in your life, right? So they're going to create, I figure out how to get it done one on time and deliver it. Okay, so that's where you can see how the thoughts that you have here, it's going to create that feeling, and then it's going to get you to take different types of actions. Now, if we look at actually what would be the action that would come from feeling overwhelmed, right? Like you have the thought, or your boss is asking you to get something done by tonight, or your client, you have the thought, I have so much to do. That makes you feel overwhelmed. Straight ahead. What type of action are you going to do when you feel overwhelmed? Think back. Or in your specific circumstance or situation, what are you going to do? For me, if I feel overwhelmed, as I'm thinking that, I'm going to pretty much, oh, I took the wrong one. Sorry about that. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I put the results instead of the actions. When I feel overwhelmed, generally what I do is I ruminate. Yeah, I overthink. Do that quite a lot when I feel overwhelmed. I go do something else, because basically overwhelm is like a mush of I have too much to do and I don't know where to start. And therefore, I'm just going to do something simple that I know where to do. So I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to procrastinate, right? So the result that for your life that overwhelm is going to create is that you don't do anything to move you forward in that circumstance, right? So you can really see how the feelings are so key to how we feel right now and what we're going to do in our life. So if you're not getting the results that you want in your work, in your career, in your business, it is only because of the way you feel. And the reason for your feelings is not the circumstance that you're in, is the thought you're having about those circumstances. Those are the one that needs your focus and your attention. And step 1 gives you that first power, noticing, awareness. And then step 3 is another layer that we're going to go into straight ahead. So notice that those thoughts are optional, right? The ones that you have in your head. Another person said, in terms of thought, not sure to be able to achieve that goal in such condition, then being judged as incompetent. Yeah, okay. So the emotion would be like scared or stressed indeed. And the sentence in your head, so the thought would be either I am afraid I'm not going to achieve it, or I might not achieve it. No, I'm afraid, but the feelings would stay in feeling line. I might not achieve it. I might get judged, right? And this sentence, when you think about the goal that you have in such condition, is going to create you to feel stressed. I might not achieve it. I might get judged. I don't want to get judged. Yeah, when you just think those sentences, you already feel stressed. I already feel stressed. And then for sure, you're going to then take the action that comes from stress, from feeling stress, which is generally not as much, or a bit sketchy and stopping and starting and being multitasking, right? Those sentences are the optional part that we're going to look into. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions on step 2 before I move to step 3? Thank you. All right, so now step 3. Once you have those first 2 incredibly powerful steps to feel better right now with step 1, to understand what is creating your feelings, so to take your power back in step 2, with the sentence in your thoughts, you can change that thought. Okay, that's really what I do through coaching over and over and over, with different thoughts, with different beliefs, with different areas of our lives for one person, right? I help them go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 over and over until the new thought that has been created becomes the automatic one, and therefore helps us create the results that we want in our life, helps us feel the way that we want in our life. That's really what it does. So now, before we are able to create a new and believable thought, and I'm going to explain you what that is, you need to make sure that you haven't skipped step 1. That's the first thing, because a lot of people, and that's what we do with affirmation, for example. We listen to a podcast that say things, positive things, you are amazing, you are worthy, you can do everything, all of that. Then you're listening to it, and if you're still in your emotional response of feeling stressed out or angry, they feel amazing, you're going to feel like, I don't feel amazing at all. It's not working. I can't change my mind. That bloody thing doesn't work. And then you scrap it, right? And then you think that you can't help yourself, and there's nothing that you can do about your anger or your stress. But that's not it. It's not that there's nothing you can do. And actually the technique can work. It's just that you need to do step 1 first, so that your emotion decrease, and then your brain, and therefore coming up with the sentence and creating a new one, can appear. That's the only thing that needs to happen. So remember, next time, if you want to do that affirmation, do my step 1 first. So to be able then to change the feeling, right, which is what we want. We don't want to feel overwhelmed anymore. We don't want to feel stressed. We don't want to feel angry. Instead, we want to feel the feeling that is going to get us to take the actions and the results that we want, right? If you think about it, if one of the attendees said, I'm not sure if I'm able to achieve that goal in such condition, it means that the results that she wants is achieve the goal in the specific given condition. So when you think about that being the result, what are the actions that she needs to take in order to achieve that goal? What are all of the things? It might be reach out to someone, do some research, present it to people, share the idea, whatever those are. So to be able to take the actions, you want to understand what feeling you need to generate you to fuel those actions, which generally is not going to come from stress or anger or overwhelmed, right? You will need to feel clear, you will need to feel focused, you will need to feel committed, you will need to feel confident. Those are the type of feeling that you're going to want to have and to generate in your body instead of the overwhelm or the stress or the anger. And to be able to do that, to generate those clear, focused, for example, committed feeling, you're going to want to not change the situation, as we said, but look at the sentence in your head, which currently is, I'm not sure if I can do this. Yeah, or I don't want to be judged. Well, the idea is to create a new sentence, a new thought in your head that will get you closer to the confidence, the feeling focused, the feeling clear, and that is believable to you. And that's really the key words, believable. Because what happens a lot is that we just we just want to believe something else, right? Like those affirmations. Oh, I feel amazing. Oh, I can do anything. Like, for example, if you try straight away to go from I'm not sure I can do this to I can do everything, it's going to feel way too stretched, way too far for you to believe that it could be true, that you could actually do anything. So what we want to do is actually believing something that is a little or big improvement to where you are now. Okay, so if you're thinking, I can't do this, maybe have a look at in other areas of your life. That's a trick. Look in other areas of your life where you are managing to do something. Okay, so if you think about your house, for example, or your kids, or something that you're really confident in, think about, yeah, I can do that. I can do some things. There are some things that I can get done. There are things that I'm amazing at, so, and what that does is that you intentionally focus your brain on thinking sentences that are going to generate the feeling, right? So that you slowly build alternative thoughts to the current one that you have. So you go from, I can't do this, or I can't do anything, to there are things that I can do. I might be able to do this, right? And then the second condition is that once you have identified a sentence that feels true, that you have evidence for in other areas of your life, you give it equal airtime. Okay, that's really, really key to make that step 3 work for you. Because, yeah, we'll answer the question, thank you. Because naturally and unconsciously, our brain is wired to be negative. Okay, so without knowing, the thoughts that are going to come out of your brain and of your head are going to be very negative, most of it, because if we are negative, it means it can keep us safe. Okay, so there's the primitive part of our brain that came up with our evolution, keeps us safe. We're negative, that's fine. So we look for danger all the time. So those initial thoughts are negative, okay, which means that automatically, most of us are going to wake up or are going to go to work. If we know we have a big work day ahead, automatically we're going to be like, oh, I'm not sure I can do this. It's going to be hard. Maybe someone is going to judge me. Maybe I'm going to get rejected. And then that creating those feelings in our body of, demotivated, we feel down, we feel heavy, stressed out, etc., right? So as unconsciously, all of those negative thoughts are going to come up. Your main work as human being and as adult is to teach your brain how to think, right? And it's, again, something we've never been taught in our adult life, is that a lot of the time we think that because we think it, because the sentence comes up in our head, it's true. But it is not. It's just a random sentence that comes in our head. Like we have 60,000 thoughts per minute, right? So if they were all true, we would be exploding. It's just a sentence that comes up. What makes something true is if we believe in it. And there is no universal truth, right? The truth comes only from our own brain and it's internal, it's not external. Like that's why everybody disagrees on religion, right? People have different thoughts about it. Therefore, they believe different things. So if you want your brain to believe a new thought instead of the old thoughts, it means you're going to have to be intentional, right? And think on purpose, because right now you're thinking that. Or some of those thoughts, I can't get everything done. I have no idea how to do it all. I'm not good enough. I don't know where to start. Those are the ones that are going to come unconsciously and pretty automatically, which are going to create your emotional experience in your life. So if you want to feel differently and do something else, you're going to have to think on purpose give it equal airtime, which means think about it as often as you can. You put it on Post-it notes, what you want to feel instead. You put a reminder in your phone. You, I don't know, you put it as a background. You know, I do that sometimes, a background on my phone, whatever it is, so that the new thought that is believable, that you have proof for, is top of mind and comes often and often and often. And the more you have that, the more your brain is going to go to work to find evidence that it's true in your life. Okay, so the more your new thought is going to create new actions and new results and new proof for its truth. The more you're going to get proof, the more it's going to feel believable, the more it's going to feel true. Okay, and that's how you move from an old, ingrained, unconscious, automatic thought that has been led you to feel terrible and overwhelmed to believing a new thought that is true and that makes you feel so much better, and where you get more actions and therefore more results from. Imagine when you're moving into that thought from I can't get everything done to I can get some things done. Just that. It doesn't have to be at the start, I can get everything done. It can just be I can get some things done, which is true, right? If you came to the workshop, you brushed your teeth this morning, you dropped your kids off at school, you gave a call to your colleague, you can get some things done, right? It's true. And notice how much better it feels when you think I can get some things done to I can't get everything done or I can't get anything done, right? It's going to pause quickly because someone asked a question. Could explain difference between thought and belief? Yes. So a thought is a sentence in your head, yeah, what we were saying. It comes up, pops and goes. A belief is a thought that we have repeated over and over and over that feels true to us. It feels like part of our identity. So a lot of the time, like for example, if you have that belief, I am not good enough. I had the belief before, definitely, I'm not good enough. I had it, I'm not worthy enough, or I can't, I'm not reliable. I had as well. I had the belief I'm less good than others, I'm less smart, I am less interesting, I'm messy, you know, all of those would be belief. They will almost feel like part of your identity, things that you can't shake, that anywhere you go, you have them, it's you, okay? If someone would ask you, how would you describe yourself? Oh, I'm messy. That would be a belief. But as you understand, it's only a belief because you repeat it to yourself unconsciously over and over and over, right? So that when you are in a given situation, your brain is the first thing that comes up. I am incompetent. I am unreliable. Boom. And then if you don't question it, if you don't notice first that's what's going on, then if you don't notice the sentence and if you don't question it, you won't be able to change that, right? You might be able to outrun it by taking 1,000 more actions to actually try and feel, yeah, actually, I am competent. Look at all those actions that I feel. But ultimately, I mean, how often have you seen that? You're taking a lot of actions and then you arrive at the end of it. And if someone tells you, wow, you've done a fantastic job, if inside you think that you're not enough, you believe that you're not enough, the someone telling you you've done an amazing job, you're going to be like, yeah, thank you. And you're not going to believe a word of it. I have been there many, many times, my clients as well. That's why the first step, or the third in that case, is to create a new belief, which is all coaching is all about. Just pausing because I'm conscious we are 5 minutes after time. Just want to make sure that the people on it are still okay, I think, for another 10 minutes, if that's okay. And if you need to jump out, I'll send a recording, but if you can, yeah, perfect. Sorry about that. I think I got a bit overexcited with the step one because I know it's so important because I've never used to do it before. And when I started doing it more and more often, and I see how life-changing it is with my clients, I wanted to make sure that you had everything you could for you. Okay, so so these are really the key things in terms of changing your emotional experience, changing the actions, and therefore changing the results, and taking the power back over your emotional life, over the results that you want to create, over how you want to show up. And that works everywhere. It works in relationships. It works in getting results in your business. It works in creating a new career. You're thinking, oh, I'm not too sure about that current job. Maybe I want to do something else. Maybe I want to start my own business, whatever it is. I've done that. Then that what is going to help you do that, or what is going to prevent you from doing that, is all the thoughts in your head. Because probably if you're not doing the things that you want to be doing in your life, if you're feeling less good than what you had imagined in your life, it's because you have a lot of thoughts and a lot of beliefs that feel crap, that are not helping you, that are not useful for you, but that unfortunately, they are just under the radar. So you don't see them. They're just true. They're just like, recycle in your mind day in, day out, that make you feel a certain way, and then you don't take action, you don't change. So unless you work on those ones, take the 3 steps that I've mentioned: notice and fill, notice the sentence, change and create a new one that feels new and believable, and you get there, you're not going to be able to change, I would say, have lasting changes of your emotions and of your life experience if you don't do that. Because what will happen, and that's exactly why most of us struggle with lasting habits, right? With lasting change, with, for example, you want to lose weight, or you want to do something drastically different for a while, right? You're on a diet, or you want to stop drinking alcohol. That's also what I've been doing. What happens is that if you don't do that work, you will only try and change your actions, right? And that will go against you. Because imagine if inside you feel like you are someone who loves drinking, but the action you're taking is putting a lot of rules of, I'm not drinking there, I'm not drinking for a month. You're constantly going to go against yourself, right? You're not going to be aligned. So it's going to take you so much force and so much willpower to get those results of not drinking, that as soon as it's gone, as soon as the deadline is passed, as soon as you feel more tired, as soon as you have a bit of a dip, boom, you're going to go straight back to the old way of doing things and the old way of being. It's not sustainable. It's not a lasting change. You might feel amazing for a month, partly misaligned, but also proud and also feeling better in your body, but it's not going to last. That's why coaching is so valuable in my mind, is that it's changes that last. You change from the root cause. You change from the root. You become someone else. You just don't do random stuff here and there that looks great or that makes you feel better for a few weeks. You actually deeply change. You rewire your brain. I mean, I've done stuff that felt completely effortless. That's the crazy thing, is that if you change from the inside, from your belief and your thought, then you don't have the resistance of the outside that changes and then the inside that needs to change. You don't have that resistance. So changes feel easy. That's what I've noticed. I've stopped drinking alcohol it's been 2 months now. And not that I used to, drink all the time, but as such, I was drinking like, on the weekend. It felt like something that was part of me. And because I've done that belief work before, I've done the 3 steps over and over and over, it feels easy. Like I've stopped and it's not even a big deal. Like I've barely noticed. And that's the power of it. A lot of the time, we don't want change. We don't want to change in our life. We don't want to risk to change something because we're afraid of how we're going to feel. We're afraid of if we fail, what happens? What are people going to think? Therefore, what we might lose, whether we're going to be able to handle it, and all the emotional pain that it's going to cause. But if you do that work first, it's for sure it's like a tenth of what it would be if you just try and push yourself through. That's why coaching is amazingly helpful for. Okay, so recap and close. We've seen 3 steps to swap your overwhelm, any emotion really, I've focused on overwhelm, your anger, your stress, your whatever, for results, which will come from a different feeling, right? For focus, for clarity, for commitment. You first name, notice, name, describe it. Then you find the sentence causing it. Then you create a new sentence that is equally believable and you give it equal airtime. And then you watch yourself do it and you feel that sentence, right? You really need to be and believe in that sentence. So repeat it and allow yourself to feel it in your body. See how your body responds to it. And I love to give you a challenge. So because, as I said, my most successful clients are the ones who are using those 3 steps again and again and again, I would love to give you the challenge that over the next 7 days, at least, you pause and do those 3 steps at least 3 times a day. You can put a reminder in your phone, morning, as you wake up, in the afternoon, before you go to bed. You ask yourself 3 questions. How am I feeling right now? What's the sentence causing it? What other sentence could I feel instead? Simple, right? It's going to take you 5 minutes top. And I'll love just to notice for you, conscious on what comes up. What do you notice feelings that actually are more present in your life? Sentences that are behind the actions that come out of those feelings. Yeah, really pay attention to what that might be. And share with me the changes or just how it feels. And yeah, how you see affecting how you show up, just your general well-being, because that's super, super important. And remember that all of that is like you're training your muscle, right? Your brain is a muscle. And that is a completely new, different skill that you're learning to have this awareness and to change it and to think on purpose, believe on purpose. So give yourself time. Okay, give yourself space that it might not feel comfortable, that it might be uncomfortable at the start, but you can do it. Okay, so really do that, and then witness your change, because I can guarantee you're gonna change. That is a life-changing exercise. I know that. Oh, I'm really pleased it was helpful. Last thing, because I know some of you came as well to understand a bit more how we can work, how I can help you further. So if you, my pleasure, Leo. If coaching is something that you want, or more importantly, not necessarily even the coaching, if you want the change in your life, if you want to feel differently, if you want to take your power back, create something that you feel absolutely incapable of creating right now, I can help you. I would love to help you, because that's what I do. That's why I started that business. And that's what my mission is, right? Is to help people come out of the obscurity, own their space, own their voice without feeling guilty, without having to apologize, and going after their goals effortlessly with the tools that I'm using. One of them is the one I'm sharing today. So if you're interested in working further with me, book your 1-hour free exploration call with me, which is free. We just do create a roadmap for you. We identify where you are now, where you want to go, how you can get there. I'm giving you the tools, the steps, the direction, how you can get there. And then I'll make you an offer on how we can work together if we see that we are a good fit, right? And then from that, you're able to make a decision if you want to work with me or not, if you want to try on your own, if you want to try with another coach, whatever it is, it's your decision, it's the right decision, okay? So that's what we do. And then if you want to work together, then we start your bespoke coaching. So most of the time, what I do is I have coaching package, all right? So most of my clients take 6 months coaching package based on the level and the amount of change that they want to do in their lives. Some take 9 months if they want to completely revamp it. And some as well take 3 months if it's more of a smaller, let's dip our toes in it type of thing change. And that then looks like we are having 1 hour coaching weekly together, just the two of us. We're looking exactly at where you are now, where you need my help, and I help you get those results. I do not let you out of the coaching. Not that I'm going to force you, obviously, but I make sure that's my responsibility to make sure that by the end of your coaching package, I've done everything in my power to help you get those results, to guarantee them for you. And I help you get there. That's why we do 3-hour coaching, bespoke worksheet, and anything that I see is necessary to help you get the results. That's the beauty of one-on-one coaching, right? Is that you can see where your client is and then adapt and change and give them what they need as we go to be even more effective in the change and in the results that they want to get. It's like I am your very own personal trainer for your mind, not the body, but the mind. If you're interested in knowing more, in getting your free exploration call that you can't lose, by the way, because if you decide not to work with me, I'll still give you the roadmap. So you can move forward on your own with the things you want to change in your life. You can go on Alex work coaching, alexwcoaching.com/contacts. You can find the link, or after the webinar, if you're watching that live or you subscribe for the replay, I'm going to send you the link to book your exploration call. We can get that done and start helping you ASAP. I hope it was helpful. I really hope. And I hope that you've slowly being brought into the power of coaching, not to work necessarily with me, although I'd love it, but more because it transforms you. It has transformed me. It's transforming my client's life. And I know it can be transformative for you too. So I'd love for you to get that transformation too. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to cut the recording and I hope you enjoyed it.